Maayong buntag, maayong hapon, maayong gabi. I am your Night of Fun. I am Ray and you're watching the Cup of Geek podcast here on YouTube, here on Spotify, here on Apple Music, Apple Podcast.
Apple
Nagkabali ako eh.
Podcast.
Apple Podcast pala. And if you're listening to us for the first time, please make sure to hit that like button. Subscribe na rin kayo, hit that notification button so when we come out with a new video like this, updated kayo sa mga videos namin. So, guys, what are we gonna talk about today? Medyo a bit late, pero
Pero okay lang.
okay lang. Let's still talk about it because we are going to talk about the recent announcements by James Gunn on the new slate for the DCU or the DC universe. But this time, since it's gonna be twofold, no? There are gonna be movies, there are gonna be shows, TV shows, but let's focus first on the movies. So, abangan nyo next week yung discussion namin on the TV shows naman. So, there are gonna be 5 movies. May title actually, kasi if you're familiar with the Marvel films, medyo naka-group siya into phases. So, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, phase 4. And I think I really like what James Gunn did dito sa DCU slate. Ang announcement niya is we're gonna have chapters. And chapters are gonna have titles, di ba? So, chapter 1 is gonna be Gods and Monsters. So, sobrang interesting kasi syempre it feels big, Gods and Monsters yung title. So, at ano ba talaga yung laman nung slate na yun? So, let's look at the first 5 movies that's gonna be slated for the next probably that will start 2025 and moving forward in the next 10 years. Ano ba yun? 5. But we are gonna kick off before we go into these movies pala, I'd like to introduce my co-host pala muna. Noah, introduce yourself first.
Hey, yo, what's up? Geeky Pinoy here. So, you can catch me on TikTok and Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. So, again, Geeky Pinoy. Yeah, let's go. Let's go. What's up, Blake?
And of course, hello everybody. I am Aqua Blake, aka Blake Salcedo. You can always find me on IG, Facebook, and of course TikTok and Twitter. I'm on Twitter now again. You can just find me on Aqua Blake Salcedo. I'm rarely there unless something really big happens, but yeah, you know what? Since DC is the main topic that we're going to be talking about, so I guess I'm going to be tweeting about DC. So let's bring it on back to the Night of Fun himself, Ray.
All right. So before we go into the recent announcements, let me just ask my co-host, how did you feel about the announcements? And sa tingin nyo, is it a breath of fresh air that we are now moving from the DCEU or the Snyderverse to the James Gunn DC universe? Blake, since you have the Aqua Blake name and we don't know yet if Jason Momoa is gonna be Lobo.
I mean, like, honestly though, there's a part of me that is excited and is waiting to see what happens with the DC universe moving forward now that James Gunn is in control. It's just that I'm not getting my hopes up too much since we were promised a DC universe 2 times already. We had it the first time when Zack Snyder was in control. His universe, well, obviously for many reasons, it did not push through. Then of course we had the newer version after he left, which we were thinking, okay, it's going to be more on solo films that somewhat connect with each other in the same movies. And then now that obviously, kind of bummed out on itself. And now we're back to the third reboot of the universe, which, if you think about it, is pretty DC because DC likes to reboot their universes a lot.
Even the comics.
Yeah.
Technically,
so they're just doing it for the comics, guys. It's pretty comic accurate. But yeah. Yeah. I mean, I'm excited. I'm excited to see what they do. I'm just not gonna be that hyped unless they kick off things pretty greatly. But for now, I don't know. You go, Noah. What's your thoughts?
Ako, to be honest, I was happy. But at the same time, of course, matagal pa 2025 pa. Yung unang labas
Mm.
talaga. Kumbaga, yung talaga outcome or product ng lahat ng promises will be on 2025. So, baka mamaya masyadong maubos yung excitement ko. Tapos, pagdating ng araw na yun, malungkot ako. So, I was happy as far as seeing the blueprint, but seeing the house, wala pa. So, doon ko siya laging pino-compare. So, nilatag lang naman ni James Gunn the plan. It's promising. It's as a comic reader and a fan talaga din naman ng DC. I was uh, I was thrilled talaga. But because it's a balance of mainstream and not so popular characters. Hindi lahat kumbaga sa mga naglalaro ng baraha, hindi agad nilabas lahat ng alas eh. Kumbaga ano muna, ah, yung kailangan muna to build the foundation, then isa-isa yun natin. I was happy. I would be honest. I was excited about it. But same with Blake, I'm not putting my hopes very high. Kasi there's 2 years pa before we see the product.
Tagal-tagal pa. Mm-hmm. Yep, I also agree with you, no. So we take it with a grain of salt. Pero siguro from the three of us, ako yung pinaka-excited. Mainly because siguro ito rin, mainly because I think there's a little bit more direction this time and a little bit more support from Warner Brothers. In the previous iterations of these universes, parang we're just shooting from everywhere. Walang basically a path forward. Okay, Snyderverse, you do your own world. But you're also giving out projects in terms of TV, or you're giving out IPs
CW.
to CW, you're giving out IPs to Netflix, and it's still
HBO.
disjointed, diba? To HBO is still under in the umbrella of Warner Brothers rin naman. So it's disjointed basically. And then you now tell us in the last couple of years na you just shoot movies if they tapos pag yung story is would work in the same universe, sige, okay na rin. It's in the same universe. Pero parang it's an afterthought na hindi ganoon gumawa ng ng multiverse or ng isang universe eh. So it's very disjointed in the past, and I think what I really appreciate in James Gunn's announcement is it was clearly said that everything that they will announce will be from the movies, from TV, from animation, and even games will be in one universe. Whatever else that Warner Brothers or DC will produce that is not in that same universe are called Elseworlds, and I think that's important because
which is in the comics as well.
so you have Matt Reeves, diba? Sa comics Elseworlds before, ngayon Black Label na. Which is really giving a brand for content that are outside of the universe, but also respecting that they have also good stories. So Matt Reeves Batman, you also have Todd Phillips Joker, and hopefully more in the future, and hopefully Batman Beyond in the future. And I think that doesn't work well in the current continuity, but it can work in an Elseworlds story. But syempre hopes lang yun. So I think meron siyang it's a clear picture where it's going. The concept of gods and monsters giving us the idea na okay, we're focusing on these two things in this first chapter, and what it will lead to you will know in the future. Hindi pa kasi buo pa yung yung slate. We're still gonna probably hopefully in the future Comic Cons, in this year's Comic Cons, i-announce yung rest of the slate. Pero yeah, doon ako excited na okay, this is a firm direction. This is what we are gonna do. Any projects outside of this direction, Elseworlds yan, hindi siya dapat makabilang sa projects namin, diba? And yun. So happy ako doon, but let's see these movies muna, these projects. What are we gonna expect from these movies? how much of what we know of ang pwedeng mangyari dito sa movies na to, and what will it have impact on sa mga future projects pa din ng DC. So let's start with the movie that will kick off basically the DC universe, which is, yes, a Superman film, and it's, for now, its title is Superman Legacy. James Gunn is saying that they're getting a younger actor, probably around the age of 25. Blake, baka gusto mong mag audition?
Audition.
Because why not?
Yeah.
Superman is an alien. He does not need to be Caucasian.
True.
Diba?
True.
So, Superman
Might be
Legacy.
called Captain Marvel as well.
So yun, what will be your
Very different
expectations
hero.
sa movie sa project na to? Noah?
For me, mataas for this one. For this one, I would be honest. Mataas ang expectation ko dito. I'm not saying na expectation-wise dapat maganda siya para sa akin. Hindi ko sinasabi na I believe na magiging maganda siya, pero dapat. Maganda siya. Because Superman is Superman. There's no DC without Superman.
Yeah.
And he is not just one of the foundation, but he is the core foundation of DC. And kumbaga sabihin natin LeBron James at Michael Jordan, you will build the team around Superman. Hindi man team, but you will build the universe in that character. So tama naman that they should be selecting a younger character because their plan is 10 years. So 35 na si kung sino mang actor na yun by the time na matapos yung 10 years. And it needs to be sure na that person, that actor, is committed for that 10 years. Para sabihin natin, si Robert Downey Jr. is the pillar of the MCU. Ako, no contest, ako tingin ko si Iron Man, RDJ, is the pillar. And it was built around him. And yun, we have MCU. And I think that's the same thing with Superman. Though maraming wala pang idea what the comic reference is, and I think James Gunn is very vocal on where he'll be getting the reference. But again, it should be good. It's not just my expectation, but it's a make or break. Pag hindi ito maganda, may hirapan yung mga susunod para sa akin. Kaya I think that's why James Gunn is the one writing it directly. Kaya talaga nagsulat. Hindi pa naman confirm na siya yung magdidirect.
Yep.
Pero it should be really good. And I think hindi naman nila ilalabas yan if it's not good. For sure.
Agree.
That's for me.
Blake?
Blake.
I mean, I think my only expectation for this, we need more Superman movies. There's not a lot compared to Batman movies. For me, like I said, my only real expectation for the new Superman movie would be taking all the good things from previous iterations of the character in live action and just blending it together. Bring the acting of Christopher Reeve of being able to shift from Clark Kent to Superman, just like that, shifting of the body, mannerism, tone of voice, that. And then you also have the action and the spectacle that we were shown through Zack Snyder's interpretation of Superman. And from Superman and Lois, we have the heart of the character and what makes him such a great person, not just as Superman, but also, first and foremost, as Clark Kent. I think that, James Gunn, he knows comic book characters. And I feel that he would be able to try and branch all those factors into this new Superman. And honestly, as long as they get the perfect balance between Clark Kent and Superman, that's the first and only thing that matters. Just needs that good balance. The rest will follow suit.
Yeah, I agree. And yun na nga, if Superman is gonna be portrayed differently, And I hope this will happen, no? Because in recent years, medyo nabago na rin kasi yung parang medyo motto niya in the comics, no? So Superman has a motto of being a superhero of hope, truth, justice, and a better tomorrow. Tama ba? If I'm not mistaken. Pero yun,
Yeah.
diba? I think before it was and parang it was about America before. I think they rephrased it
Yeah.
so that Superman can be global. Kaya nilagay nilang a better tomorrow. And I think siguro na miss lang din natin, or as for those who are Superman fans, na miss lang din natin na there's this Boy Scout of a character. You have a light-hearted character in a Superman movie, and I think that's what we're missing out in the last couple of movies rin from Superman. And siguro nakita lang natin partly some of it in the Snyder's Justice League, dun sa 4-hour movie, pero dun sa may bandang ending ng konti. Pero yun na nga, it's what we are really wanting from a Superman film. And ako, ang nabasa ko pala talaga na Superman story is the death of Superman.
Yung deadpan.
yung lumabas nung 90s where he was beaten by Doomsday. And because I'm
Doomsday.
not really a fan of OP or overpowered characters, so the only way that I will read an overpowered character if they would die or they would be totally lost in the story, and that would give me some more appreciation on who the character is. And I think nabigyan ako nung when I read that comic na okay, Superman is like this kasi yung afterthought of him dying is really having an impact to the world. But dahil nga dun sa announcement ni James Gunn, immediately bumili ako ng All-Star Superman, and I think James Gunn and the guys at DCU have been using the art from this book. And I think James Gunn also posted na he was also reading this book in his Twitter. So parang he's getting inspiration from this book, ha? Let's see if what this book has to offer. So I had to buy it. Ayun. Okay, so that's Superman Legacy, and that's what what we're looking forward to for this movie. Let's go to the next movie in the slate, which is The Authority. So, question: do you even know The Authority? And what are you gonna expect from this movie, Blake?
I'm expecting violence,
And
Midnighter, violence, and Midnighter.
I think you failed to mention violence.
Yeah, shit. Oh man, I should have added more violence. Damn. But yeah, just so you guys know, the Authority is, well, let's just say it is basically somewhat of an answer to The Boys, after The Boys basically gave an answer to DC and the rest of superheroes. So this is DC's way of saying, hey, here's our answer to this, guys. And yeah, basically, The Authority is, well, it's a comic that's a bit more mature for most DC audiences, and some may find it a little bit, well, I don't know how I can say this. Some may find some things very controversial.
Yeah.
But me personally, I think it's a very welcome thing, considering the fact that, Midnighter being one of the most awesome characters in the Authority and in DC Universe history. And do you guys want to take this?
What? No, you go.
Right now, I've created. But yeah, the Authority, yeah. Basically, the typical usual superhero team. They do not tend to play by the rules as much, but they are there to ensure that peace and order does get maintained in the world in whatever way they see fit. Now, how they're going to do it in like a live action movie, well, unlike Marvel, DC actually has the ability to turn anything R rated. And I think that with James Gunn proving that
Yep.
he can do R-rated, especially with Suicide Squad.
Peacemaker 2.
He can pretty much, yeah, and he can pretty much translate it properly, just like the comics did, and how everyone expects it to be. Especially when the Midnighter would get a little machine to put something into someone else's body part.
Mm.
Yep.
Some of you guys have seen that comic panel. You know what I'm talking about. That's right up. That is right
Right
up
up your alley.
Gun's alley. Right up.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
So what are you guys expecting from the Authority per se? Noah.
Oh, I'm happy. I'm happy to have the authority on the slate because first it's not well known and dun ko nakita na DC is not really a Marvel 2.0. They're not after Marvel. If you will check all the movies and the programs they're planning to do, they're after everyone, not just Marvel. They're after The Boys, they're after Game of Thrones, they're after horror
Mm.
movies, they're after comedy movies or comedy programs. And dun nga, Authority is after the fame that The Boys are getting. And if they'll be able to nail it, kasi The Boys is on Prime, it's a series, but Authority will be done in the movies. So big, actually, it could have a bigger impact in a way. Pero it should be done right. And the only way to do it right is by doing it R18.
Yep.
If you're gonna do it like a
Exactly.
general patronage, I don't know how.
No.
No, I think it's not. We are not advocates of anything such, but it should be done the right way and it should be done violently. That's all I can say.
Ay, ako.
Right.
Yep. Siguro, sige, we've been talking about how Warner Brothers and DC can really be flexible in terms of the movie rating and the audience that it's targeted to. And the Authority plays well in terms of going after the more adult fans of the superhero genre. My
Not sure.
my big hope is this is I think what, since you've already discussed what the Authority is, you have characters like Midnighter, who's a version of the Batman. You also have the character of Apollo, who's a version of
Just like
Superman.
Superman.
So why don't we get Henry Cavill and Ben Affleck play those characters, and then that's gonna be the movie that will tell you that the Snyderverse has ended and the real superheroes has just beaten up this this versions of them in a movie in the Authority. But then I'm just kidding. But no, seriously, the I think we have, this is a very James Gunn brand of looking at some of the characters or some of the superhero teams that you may not have encountered so far in the comics or in the films. So yes, it's getting me excited to see these characters on the big screen, and syempre there's gonna be a lot of violence and gore. So kids, I'm sorry, but this movie is really not for you. All right, let's go to
This
the
is
next
for us.
film, which is again,
This is
let's
for us.
Never between children.
sorry kids. Okay,
It's
but
for the titos.
for the titos and the and the young adults, probably the 18s and aboves. Okay, let's go to the next movie, which is, I think this one can be for everybody. We're going to have another Batman film, which is gonna be entitled The Brave and the Bold. And this movie is gonna have Robin in it, and the Robin version is gonna be Damian Wayne. Sabi ko sa Dwayne Wade. Damian Wayne, which is the a-hole of a
Si Black
son,
Adam.
the spoiled brat, the assassin version of Robin. So, how do you guys feel
Entitled.
about this kasi 'di ba, we have a Batman a film set by Matt Reeves, and this is the year 2 version of Batman, but this time we're gonna have a version of Batman that has a Robin on his side, and it's basically coming from the Grant Morrison version of Batman, where he gets introduced to his son through Talia al Ghul. So if you know the comics, you would understand if it was forced or not. But they have a son, which is who was trained with Talia al Ghul in the League of Assassins, and he is Damian Wayne. So how do you feel guys about this this story, this outline so far on the Batman story? Noah.
Well,
Sige, Blake.
sige. Well, at first I was a bit shocked. Now, whoa, we're getting another the second, I don't know, the third live action Robin for movies again, but this time it's Damian Wayne and not Dick Grayson. But then I took a step back and I thought, wait, so if we're going with Damian now, that isn't to say that the entire Bat family has already been
Already there.
established. And I mean, of course, you guys can agree, and everyone watching and hearing this, you can agree as well. We have been waiting, begging to bring the Bat family into live action. There's been comics made around their stories. There have been fan-made comics that everyone enjoys. A video game, which may or may not be good, depends on you. Yeah, the Bat family. That's one thing that has got me excited for Brave and Bold. The prospect that we will have. Well, I mean, we already have them in the Titans TV show, but to see them in live action, Dick Grayson, Tim Drake, Stephanie Brown, Barbara Gordon, Cassandra Cain, a proper version of Cassandra Cain, Jason Todd, all of these other characters, like in the Bat family that everyone has been waiting for. Honestly, even just like a little mention or cameo, I would call that like
an
James
after
Gunn.
credit.
It's a
Sorry
win.
for my I was like, I'm sorry, I doubted you. I will switch religions for a joke. No. But yeah. I'm excited. I'm wondering who they're gonna cast as Damian Wayne, because that's a very important role, and it has to get a specific kind of actor to be able to deliver. Just the narcissism or the ego of Damian, while also the sympathetic nature that he has. The Batman can come later on, but for me, Damian is the more important role to cast for this one. So, Noah, ikaw, anong thoughts mo?
Ako, for this one kasi nung una, di ba, parang another Batman. Kumbaga, akala ko they'll try to build characters para i-match with the Matt Reeves Batman, which is not gonna happen. Then I was happy that this is a setting where Batman is already there with Damian Wayne. So meaning, skip na tayo sa origins ng Batman, which is, I think, alam na natin.
Alam na natin yan.
Doesn't need to be in the movie anymore.
Doesn't need to be retold 1,000 times.
Guys, alam niya na lahat yan. So, I'm happy that we'll be skipping that part. And yun nga, tulad ng sinabi ni Blake, when I heard that it's Damian Wayne, of course, Bat Family is already existing in that universe. And I think people deserve to know them. They deserve to be known in the big screen. I'm a big fan of Red Hood, Jason Todd. So I'm excited how they'll be. I know it will be focusing on Batman and Damian Wayne, but a glimpse of them, a glimpse of their costume hanging on the Batcave is good enough for me. So, or like just saying, your Dick Grayson is just there studying in the university. That's good enough for me. Jason Todd, I haven't seen him in a while, but he's just out there in Gotham. That's fine, as long as we know they're existing. But of course, I'm excited as well for the villain. Will be the villain. I haven't read the Brave and the Bold, but because
Rachel
ako
Ghul.
hindi naman. Sana.
Or si Talia al Ghul, probably.
diba? Most probably. But there are a lot of great villains din naman kasi ng Batman. So, hindi naman dapat umikot lang tayo kay Joker, Penguin, at Catwoman. There are a lot. So, let's see. I'm excited for it. Medyo mataas yung hopes ko for it. Kasi kung maging successful nga naman si Superman, for sure, gaganda yun.
Yep.
Great.
Yep. Ako naman, I have probably 3 rules for this movie. Number 1, Damian Wayne should not go as young as younger than 13 years old. So probably 14, 15, 16. Kasi I find it awkward that Batman has a kid sidekick with him. Na okay, that's basically abuse. So give him a more hindi na preteen, pero a teenager Damian Wayne. Second, because Damian Wayne has a character in himself. Give us another Robin, and I think this would probably be Nightwing on Batman's side to guide Batman how to treat this type of Robin. Kasi syempre naranasan din ni Nightwing yung pagiging Robin eh. So, I think we are going to see a lot more Nightwing in this. Kasi syempre he's the better, hindi ba siguro better? Kung i-compare ko kasi si Nightwing versus Batman, I think Nightwing's a better Batman.
He's actually a nicer person.
A nicer person.
Period.
And ito nga, I saw this discussion earlier sa Absolute Marvel and Comics. Sinasabi nila na Batman in the last few years has given up Gotham to villains. So in the Tom King run, give up niya kay Bane. In the Tynion run, give up niya kay Joker. And then afterwards, give up niya kay Scarecrow. And then in the recent run, Batman gave it up to Failsafe, the new parang version of Batman na robotic. So, iniwan ni Batman yung Gotham, tapos si Failsafe ang nag-manage ng Gotham City. So, if you plan on living in Gotham City, I really don't recommend it. But in the comics, Nightwing has made a great change in Bloodhaven. So,
Yeah.
I think Nightwing is a better child. Kaya nasabing Nightwing is a better Batman. And I think if we can have Nightwing here as a sort of reminder to Batman who he is as Bruce Wayne and how he can probably handle Damian Wayne, then that's a good thing for me. And then third, since ni-reference ni James Gunn ang Grant Morrison run, this is what I'm gonna look after. You have Batman of Zur-En-Arrh in Grant Morrison's run, and this version of Batman is basically trigger siya kapag something psychological has attacked Batman. So I'm looking forward to, is this gonna be a psychological thriller? Probably, potentially. Second is, in Grant Morrison's run, namatay si Batman. And naging Batman si Dick Grayson. And Robin niya si Damian Wayne. So, maybe in a second movie, in a third movie, we have a different Batman, but played by Dick Grayson. So, again, some of my hopefully, but if you're gonna do something that is based on the comics, that's probably where the writers are gonna start with. Yeah. Yun, so Batman the Brave and the Bold is gonna be big. It's a new Batman film. It's gonna be separate from Matt Reeves' Batman, and alam naman natin na Matt Reeves' Batman is a little bit more emo in a sense, and it is in a different it's an Elseworlds of its own. So hopefully we can enjoy the Batman and the Bold, the movie, in the future. Okay, next in the slate is Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. So this is based on the comic written by Tom King, Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow. I am picking my copy tomorrow. Literally. So I called Fully Book. Hi Fully Book, meron ba kayong extra copy dyan? Pwede naman bang pa-order? And mukhang napagbigyan ako, meron silang kopya. So I'm picking it up tomorrow. And mukhang marami akong babasahin. But what are your thoughts on Supergirl, Woman of Tomorrow?
Ako, for Supergirl, Superwoman ba? Supergirl,
Supergirl.
Superwoman. Supergirl. What I just heard from James Gunn, this is a version of her na medyo on the, I think this one is a bit on a drama side. Eh. Medyo tragic type of approach yung mangyayari. And I think this is a good introduction of her. Kasi she was not given that liberty to be seen in the big screen. I think we're gonna see her in the Flashpoint. Diba?
Si,
Baga, nandun siya. But with her origins, I think it's not a lot or hindi ganun karami yung ano nangyari sa kanya. Hindi nga alam ng that Supergirl is older than Superman. It just so happened that dahil magkaiba sila ng pinuntahan na planet, pinuntahan na lugar, mas mukhang nag-mature agad si Clark Kent
Si Clark
compared
Kent.
to Supergirl. Pero I'm not sure if how it will be translated on the big screen. But I'm excited who will be casted as Supergirl because for sure it will be tied up with the Superman legacy
Yep.
that will be built as well. And then yung world mismo kung saan siya mapupunta. Kasi for sure this is not on Earth. This is a, this is a cosmic approach. So James Gunn is really good with that. Hindi na ako it will be nailing this one. But hopefully they'll be getting or casting a great actress. Kasi sabi ko nga, this is a very tragic type of movie. Losing a lot of friends and loved ones dun along the way. So, um, marami artists to be casted, but this one is very important as far as in the so that's what I'm expecting on.
Yun. Blake.
Like,
Me, this is the one. Surprisingly for you guys, this is the one that I have the most anxious expectations for. Mostly because Supergirl. Fun fact: Supergirl for me is my favorite female superhero of all time. I loved her character when I first read her post-crisis iteration in Superman, Batman, Supergirl who came from Krypton. Then I followed her story, following that story arc, and then continued reading on and on because she has such a relatable character, and she's just going through all these notions about uh, her place in the universe, her place on Earth, who she is, if she's going to be defined by the shadow of Clark Kent, Superman, and cousin, and just basically going through the motions of like navigating through the superhero world. But yeah, so for me, because me, that's me. That's my favorite. That's like the basis of Supergirl characters. I think that has basically carried over in terms of her character ever since. Somewhat for New 52, just a little bit different, but more so now, it's still pretty much the same character. Yeah, I'm really hoping that they do this character justice. Kara Zor-El, because we already like so far we have only technically two live action iterations that have appeared. We have the Helen Slater version of Supergirl that was back in way back when, and of course
The CW one.
Melissa
Melissa
Benoit
Benoit.
in the recent this CW show, which now is considered the top peak of the comparison of who is going to be the best Supergirl, because she did a pretty good job of playing Supergirl, basically looked from the comics. And then, of course, now we have Sasha Calle, who's going to be appearing as a version of Supergirl in the Flashpoint universe. But of course, we're not at this point. We're not sure if she will be continuing to play Supergirl in Woman of Tomorrow, or it will be another actress. But whoever it is, I'm hoping that they pick the right one, and the direction that her character goes through is as faithful to the comics as much as possible. Because honestly, Supergirl is such an important character to a lot of young people, a lot of young girls.
Young girls, yeah.
I mean, Yeah, just DC, don't mess
Don't-
Supergirl up.
yep, correct. And I would agree.
Yeah,
I
That's
would
simple.
I would agree with you, Blake,
not,
because they're really telling us that this movie is gonna be based on this run by Tom King. Before the slate was announced, the Supergirl Woman of Tomorrow trade paperback, basically the collected edition, I have been trying to hold out for a very long time from buying, because budget reasons. It's also expensive to buy a lot of comics. But I have been hearing a lot of positive reviews on the story from the comic book community. And that's why it's on my to buy and read immediately list. So when James Gunn announced that on the day that the James Gunn announced on the day that the slate was announced, I immediately went to Amazon because that's where the last few copies should be available, and I couldn't find any. And
Mm.
so that's why I called up Fully Book. Probably they have some somewhere hidden. But in terms of the comic books, if the DCU movie is gonna f this up, please don't. Because if the comic book is what they say is really good, then they should really adapt it properly for the movie, and hopefully they will. So yun lang basic expectation ko. I will read it soon, maybe tomorrow. I'll start reading it tomorrow, and I'll tell you guys about it after I read it. And if it's really good, I'll review it on my TikTok. But if the DCU should also follow suit in terms of telling that story, if the comic book is also really good. There. Okay. Last movie in the James Gunn slate for Chapter 1 Gods and Monsters is, drum roll, and I'm also really excited about this, Swamp Thing. We are finally getting a Swamp Thing movie. We had a Swamp Thing series that was
Mhm.
abruptly canceled by whoever is running the
Abrupt.
business. um,
Cancel the first ano.
First two episodes ata canceled ka agad, 'di ba?
Ano
So,
ba
I
yun?
wasn't I wasn't interested kasi bakit kinancel ka agad? Ibig sabihin walang value, 'di ba? So, Swamp
Mm.
Thing, I'll start it off. I want Swamp Thing in the movie. I want it horror, I want it scary, and I want there's this story in the recent New 52 run. It's called Rot World. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Rot World. I want them to explore that story kasi sobrang it's body horror,
Mm.
it's creepy as F. And I really like how they set up the green, the red. We can get Animal Man probably in that story as a
Mm.
character as well. So isa rin yun, but I think they're gonna go back to the basics, the Alan Moore run. I think
Mm.
it's also
Yeah, yeah.
very proper of them to do that. And yes, yung Alan Moore, hindi ko pa nababasa. I'm still waiting for a collected edition, proper collected edition that I want in my collection for that run. Pero hopefully they'll produce it before the movie comes out. Pero Swamp Thing, kayo guys, what are your thoughts?
um, well, I mean, because this is technically, this is the second version of a Swamp Thing movie. Because there was
Mm.
a Swamp Thing
Mm.
movie
Yeah.
before in the '90s. It didn't do so well, but it is a cult classic that a lot of people enjoyed. And of course, the TV show that was wrongfully canceled, um,
Yeah.
it was really great. It had a great tone. It had really good horror aesthetic, and the design of Swamp Thing himself for a TV show
Mm.
with those conditions. The look of Swamp Thing was perfect for the show. It was
Mm.
no quality dip at all. It was just great. And so that was a TV show. So imagine a movie with a bigger budget. Just imagine how Swamp Thing is going to look.
Mm.
Practical mixed with CG. I hope it's more practical than CG because
Mm-hmm.
I
Yep.
think they can do a lot more design wise with that, and it will look more realistic,
You know what?
especially with the body horror things.
Get Guillermo del Toro.
Yeah, yes. Actually, well, yeah, pero they do. The director for the film is going to be James Mangold,
Yeah.
who
Mm.
directed
Logan.
who directed
Mm.
for Marvel Wolverine and Logan. So I'm pretty like for sure. I think we're good with the delivery of this being a very mature movie for DC fans and just basically comic book fans in general. Of course, he's gonna make it pretty dark, and obviously, there's gonna be a lot of environmental talk that's gonna be in the movie,
Yep.
which is obvious.
Mm,
Here, of course, there's the
I
green,
think.
the Swamp Thing, and yeah, I think that's my biggest hook for that. The horror aesthetic, body horror, and just basically James Mangold at the helm directing this thing. And yeah, I do hope that they lean a bit more towards the Alan Moore Swamp Thing as well. Noah, go.
Ako kasi super enjoyed the series of Swamp Thing, and I think it did not deserve being canceled,
Mm.
like what it experienced. And it's a very James Gunn and a Peter Safran thing to have Swamp Thing. Tingin ko.
Mm.
Kaya talagang sinama to sa slate ng chapter 1. And alam naman natin, Swamp Thing has a version of him in Marvel, which is
Si
Man-Thing.
Man-Thing.
And Man-Thing was just presented in a Marvel special presentation, which really worked
Yep.
well. Sobrang ganda, sobrang galing. And it's just 45 minutes. Now we're gonna have a Swamp Thing for like,
A
let's
full
say,
length movie.
a maximum of 2 hours
Mm.
in a movie. Why not? Isama na nila yung mga mushroom sa Last of Us kasama ni Swamp Thing.
Yung mga cordyceps, ano?
Pero
Shout out to Marvel.
kasi nung nakita ko yung pagkagawa ni Man-Thing sa special presentation, may mga mushroom din eh. Pati mga barks of trees na sabi ko, Swamp Thing will be very good. And I think as far as with popularity in the comics, medyo mas sikat si Swamp Thing kay Man-Thing. So, basta, I think this will be a good one because we know Peter Safran is really good with producing horror movies. He's really known for that. And like what I said, DC is not after Marvel. They're after everyone, after every genre. And I think one of them is horror movies. So Swamp Thing will be really good for that.
Yep. And
Great.
ano to? Sasabihin ko, yung sa Swamp Thing rin, 'di ba? It kind of kicks off something more than Swamp Thing. Kasi in Swamp Thing, in the Alan Moore run, in the early aughts of Swamp Thing, you get to be introduced to the characters of John Constantine, and then later on the Justice League Dark, 'di ba? So hopefully start lang tong si Swamp Thing, and then there are rumors that there's gonna be a Constantine 2 na si tawag nito, si Keanu Reeves pa rin, pero I don't think they will proceed with that. If it's gonna be in the same universe as Swamp Thing, they're gonna get a real Englishman, or hindi naman real Englishman, to have Constantine as a real Englishman this time. And hopefully we'll get Justice League Dark soon. No? So we can hopefully get Zatanna, we can hopefully get Deadman, Dr. Fate again. Please bring back Dr. Fate into the the DCU. Why not, diba? So hopefully that will kick it off for the monster side of this chapter. So there. So those are the 5 movies that are announced as slated for the DCU, and hopefully you guys, our viewers, are also excited for these to start hopefully soon. So 2025 and onwards, 2025 will be a big year in terms of superhero movies. So you have Superman Legacy, you have the sequel for Batman 2. You also have, I think, Avengers, the Kang Dynasty in the same year. So those are gonna be big films just for 2025. So stay alive, guys. Stay alive stay alive until 2025.
Don't tell them what to do.
Sleep 8 hours and eat well.
Yeah, take care of your body, take care of yourselves, take care of your mental health, whatever. Just to make sure that you stay alive when these
Don't
movies.
get too drunk, guys.
So I guess that wraps up our part 1 of this discussion. We're gonna have a part 2 just to talk about the shows naman that we have not yet talked about. And I think meron pa tayong maraming pag-usapan in terms of the slate that is announced by James Gunn. Hopefully, they will be announcing more in the future. Probably New York Comic Con ata yun, or San Diego Comic Con. We'll see. But that's it for now. So chapter 1, Gods and Monsters. So you have been watching the Cup of Geek. This has been your host. I am your Night of Fun, and we have Noah, Geeky Pinoy, and Blake, Aqua Blake, in the Cup of Geek. And thank you guys for watching us. And yun nga, reminder din, subscribe, like and follow, comment, and take care. Bye!